anything like your laundry stuff, your dish soap, if it has a fragrance that you can smell, it is directly hacking your endocrine system, and it's not okay.
This is the Pursuit of Wellness podcast, and I'm your host, Mari Llewellyn. Hi guys, welcome to part 2 with Dave Asprey. We cover a lot of amazing topics in this part 2. I know you guys are accustomed to having a solo episode with me every Thursday, but this episode was just too good and too long to put into one. So make sure you stay tuned. If you haven't listened to part 1 yet, highly recommend that you do. It is the perfect start to this episode, and we cover a lot of the basics you need to know. So make sure you go back. Why do you think I have acne? I'm stuck on that now.
You have acne because you're a bad person. Okay.
Clip that.
It has nothing to do with that. I had the worst acne when I was younger. And even as an adult, I would just get these like subterranean, like really deep pimples that would just like take a long time to come out and your face is all red and I get the little ones. Acne comes from systemic inflammation, right? And assuming you're not eating French fries and things like that.
Haven't eaten a French fry in 5 years.
Tell me about the kinds of plants you eat when you're not doing carnivore.
Okay. I'll talk you through my day because I pretty much eat the same thing every day. So beef, ground beef or steak, grass-fed for breakfast with strawberries, blueberries, or raspberries.
Okay. Cut out the raspberries and the strawberries. I'll tell you why later.
Okay.
Just keep the blueberries.
Lunch is a salad.
What's in the salad?
Butter lettuce, red onion, sometimes tomatoes, sometimes kale. I know what you're going to say about kale.
I'm feeling triggered right now.
Beef again, grass-fed beef, and then I'll do like balsamic olive oil. I use Brian Johnson's olive oil.
That's good olive oil. Yeah.
Mustard. And then I do 1 protein bar a day.
What's in it?
It's a raw bar, RAWR, and it's got almond butter, dark chocolate. I know. That's my little treat.
Okay.
20 grams of protein, apparently. And then dinner is almost always a steak with sweet potato.
There you go. I was right. I know what it is.
Tell me.
Okay. Are you familiar with oxalates?
I've heard the term, but I'm not quite sure what it means.
It turns out this is more important than I recognized when I wrote the Bulletproof Diet. When you are a plant, you can't run away.
Yeah.
Because you have roots. So then you put in all these different defense compounds. Oxalates are a very common one. And what oxalates do when we eat them is they seek out calcium in your tissues. They bind to the calcium and form razor sharp crystals that everything I'm saying now is referenced in studies. They cause direct harm to mitochondrial membranes. They cause neurological inflammation. They cause skin inflammation very, very commonly. All right. They also cause vulvodynia. They're a major cause of interstitial cystitis. And the list goes on and on and on, including sore back, old injuries hurting when you wake up in the morning. It's because they're crusted with razor sharp calcium oxalate crystals. The human body can eliminate 200 milligrams of oxalate maximum per day. If you're eating super high oxalate foods, and of the ones you just mentioned, almonds are a massive trigger. Okay. Raspberries are a massive trigger, followed by chocolate, followed by kale. And the reason I had you pull raspberries is they're not that high in, not raspberries, the reason I had you pull strawberries, they're not that high in oxalate, but they're usually high in histamine. And when you have oxalates in your diet, they trigger a histamine response in your skin. And if you're eating a high histamine food like raspberries, super fresh, fine, but if they're frozen and mushy or whatever, you got to be careful with them. You're going to find that when you cut out that bar that has the chocolate and the almonds and you toss out...
I'm sad.
Toss out the raspberries. You won't miss them that much.
Okay.
I have helped so many people with this because you're probably getting, I would guess, 600 milligrams, which is 3 times what your body can eliminate. And because, like me, you were healthy, I used to eat tons of the, oh, I forgot, sweet potatoes, major source of oxalate.
No.
And white potatoes, also. There's a reason
No potato is okay.
you'll probably, at least to test it out, some people tolerate potatoes okay. Some people don't because of the lectins. But oxalates are high in potatoes. They're just higher in sweet potatoes.
So do you prefer rice? Because I don't feel great when I eat rice.
White or brown?
I don't like either. I'm a white rice girl.
Okay, brown rice is gross and bad for you, so we can just say that.
I've seen the clip. I've seen the clip.
Sorry, that's just how it is.
I don't like brown rice.
No one likes brown rice.
No, it doesn't taste good.
Like people who eat brown rice traditionally is because they couldn't afford white rice, right? So now somehow we trick ourselves. I just put rocks in my shoes instead because if you want to suffer, that's cheaper. Just saying.
What's your favorite carb source?
White rice.
Okay. So you're not a potato guy.
No, potatoes have a lot of lectins. And I am sensitive to the nightshade family. So some people are not sensitive to potatoes. My daughter can eat potatoes. My son has my genetics. He can't eat potatoes, right? Or at least if he does, he gets the same symptoms I do, which is arthritis in your knees and your back and your neck.
Where does your family originate from?
We're mostly Northern European mix of a bunch of stuff.
Because I have this theory
that
because I'm from the UK, my ancestors were eating potatoes and meat.
I hate to tell you this. Unless you're Peruvian, your ancestors were not eating potatoes.
What were they eating?
For carbs?
Yeah.
They didn't have a lot of carbs, but it would have actually been wheat, right? Or like turnips.
I love a good turnip or a parsnip.
There you go. Turnips and parsnips. You look at what actually grew there. Potatoes were an import from South America and a very recent import. Even tomatoes, which you might need to cut out.
Yeah.
But for you, I don't think it's lectins. I think it's oxalates. And of course, kale should be on your oxalate list too.
Okay.
So use arugula instead of kale.
I love
It's
arugula.
better for you. It costs the same and kale's gross.
Period.
So what you're going to do is just for 2 weeks, cut out those plants and eat the blueberries. Eat the butter lettuce.
Okay.
Have an avocado, up to an avocado a day. Probably not more than that. So I'm not saying plants are bad for you. I eat plants most days. I am not carnivore. I just make sure I get adequate animal protein.
Okay.
Right? And you feel better when you do that. But, this morning I broke a 36-hour fast. I had 80 grams of animal protein, blueberries and sheep yogurt and a mango. Right? So I'm pretty sure that I'm not carnivore.
I love it. So I also want to ask you about ozone therapy.
Yay.
We talked about this before we were recording because as I was researching for this interview, I went down a deep dark hole spiral of ozone therapy because I'm obsessed with cleansing myself of these, toxins. Technically, I don't have mold or candida any longer in my lab work, but I do still have staph. What's the full word for it? Staphylococcus or something?
Yeah, staph is just a bacteria. It forms a biofilm.
Okay. And I want to do ozone therapy.
Okay.
But I don't fully understand what it does or what it is. But I do have a treatment tomorrow, so.
Awesome. This is your first one?
Yeah.
Okay. Ozone therapy is something I wrote a lot about in my longevity book, believe it or not. Ozone is just oxygen with an extra oxygen stuck to it. And it smells like that after a rainstorm or like an electrical smell. You don't want to breathe ozone. It is irritating to lung tissue. But if you inject ozone into your blood vessels, and you only inject it with a doctor because they usually take your blood out, mix it, and put it back in. Or if you introduce it rectally, vaginally, through the ear canals, or even in a steam sauna where your head is not breathing ozone, your body will absorb it like it would absorb oxygen. When it goes into your body, it has a direct antimicrobial effect. But the most important thing it does is it wakes up mitochondria throughout the body and reminds them they have to be able to make their own antioxidants like glutathione. So years and years ago, this was kind of a fringe therapy. It was really perfected in Cuba because we've had a pharmaceutical blockade against Cuba for decades. So since people there don't like to be sick, they just made ozone therapy work. And it turns out we used to use ozone therapy before we had antibiotics. This goes back in the history of things. So with ozone, because it has these broad spectrum effects on healing, it'll heal infections that you cannot heal otherwise. You can put ozone in a bag over a diabetic ulcer that won't heal. It'll heal. Add some red light, it'll heal faster, right? And it'll stop infections that would otherwise require really big antibiotic treatments, including things like blood poisoning. So it's really powerful. And when I discovered it, though, I didn't discover ozone therapy, but when I discovered it for my own uses, It's because I ran a longevity nonprofit in the Bay Area. And one of our members was an 88-year-old doctor. And actually, not doctor, dentist. And he said, Dave, why don't you come to my dental practice and I'll show you ozone. And I didn't realize that I had mold back then. I just knew my mitochondria were broken, things weren't right, and I was just getting my energy back. So I went to his practice and he says, oh, that room, that's full of people with cancer. It's like, I'm not really allowed to be treating them for cancer, but I'm old and what are they gonna do, take my license? And so he walked me into the other room and he said, buy this kind of ozone machine. And at this point, there's a couple episodes of the Human Upgrade, my podcast, where I go through ozone therapy and how to do it. But what he did is said, buy this machine and then basically stick it in your butt. So you can do this at home and it's very affordable. The machines run about $1,000. A bottle of welding oxygen, which is the same as medical oxygen, will run, I think, $50 and it lasts a very long time. I have one in my bathroom, like next to the toilet. So if I'm like, if I want ozone therapy, like after a flight, or if something's off in my GI tract, or just my brain is foggy, you take a tiny hose, it's smaller than a pencil, and you stick it in the part of your body that you probably should be suntanning. And then I snuck that in there.
My husband's a fan of the butthole sunning.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Or red light. He does it in front of the red light.
Okay. They both maybe work. I was in the New York Post for Biohacker Bro Burns Bun and Burns Bum.
That was not the title.
It was.
The news cracks me up.
It's the New York Post, right? But they picked up some humor post I did about it.
Of course.
But anyway, whether or not you sun your butthole, putting ozone in it, there's really good systemic effects that are almost as good as the intravenous. So IV is relatively expensive.
Yeah.
And it's invasive. And I don't know about you, but sticking a needle in your arm is more invasive than sticking something very tiny in your butt. Neither one is my favorite, but
I'm down for the butt one. But what's confusing me is the at-home setup, because I started to look into it and I called my functional medicine doctor and she was explaining it to me and I just got super overwhelmed. So I was like, let me start with going in for the IV.
Oh yeah, start there. But there's a blog post on my site about how to do it. It's really easy.
I don't have to go to like a welding place.
You have to just buy some oxygen.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, you just go to the welding place and say, I need a small bottle of welding oxygen. And if they say why, you say, so I can weld.
Oh. Because I'm a welder.
Yeah, if you say because I'm going to stick it on my butt, then they won't give it to you.
Okay. Good thing you told me.
Yeah, no, the local guys in town once thought I was going to do something health-wise.
I'll tell them I know you.
No, don't do that.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, because I'm a very active welder. I have this whole art thing in my back. It's for Burning Man. Like, you guys should see it. It's epic. I don't use an electric welder for whatever. I only use oxygen. But that's fine.
Okay. As someone who has struggled with their skin for over 10 years now, I'm always looking for skincare products I know I can trust. And that's where I found ClearStem. It is the first skincare line that combines all three categories: anti-acne, anti-aging, and clean, meaning free of hormone disruptors and pore clogging fillers. Just a warning, guys, most skincare lines that say clean aren't actually clean. And I love ClearStem because it's founded by Danielle and Kaylee, two close friends of mine. They've been on the show twice now, and they've both had acne in the past as well. So they know what it's like and they know the right ingredients to put into their products. I also love the fact that they offer the acne lab test, which is helping thousands of people get to the root cause of their acne through comprehensive lab testing and lifestyle-based recommendations. You guys know getting to the bottom of my acne has really been through lab testing. I think it's a huge part of figuring out our skin problems. I'm also obsessed with their new hair care. It's so difficult to find hair care that isn't pore clogging. And as you know, in the shower, it's getting all over your face. So make sure you check out their shampoo and conditioner. Visit clearstemskincare.com and use code POW at checkout for 20% off your first purchase. Again, that's code POW, P-O-W, for 20% off your first purchase on clearstemskincare.com. I recently had some friends over at our house and they were checking out mine and Greg's bedroom situation. We have a full nighttime routine with all of our gadgets, and one of our favorite things we've been using for over 2 years now is the 8 Sleep. It's buzzworthy sleep technology called the Pod. It can be added to your existing mattress like a fitted sheet to automatically cool down or warm up each side of the bed and in turn improve your sleep quality dramatically. I get so many questions about my HRV. I am kind of known for having the best HRV in the game. It's usually over 200, and I really credit that to the 8 Sleep. Greg and I keep our bedroom really cool, and we keep our 8 Sleep really cool, so our body temperature is at the perfect place for the ultimate sleep. Today, I want to share some exciting news because the Pod just got an upgrade. 8 Sleep has launched their newest generation of the Pod, Pod 4 Ultra. It cools, it heats, and it now elevates automatically. It is also clinically proven to give you up to 1 hour more of quality sleep per night. You guys probably know by now, if you've heard any of the sleep experts on my show, how important sleep is for hormone balance, weight loss, overall health, energy. It really is the best investment I think you could possibly make. You guys can head to 8sleep.com/POW and use code POW, POW, to get $350 off Pod 4 Ultra. They currently ship to the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Europe, and Australia. I really recommend you guys check this out. It's one of the most game-changing products I've ever used.
So that's how you do it. And once you have it, it's good for probably a year. And just, you never want to breathe it because it'll make you cough, and it's not good for your lungs. But then it takes 2 minutes. You put a little thing in, turn it on. 2 minutes later, I've done Instagram lives while it's going in. It's not uncomfortable. I just #reverse fart. Like, that's what it is.
Love it.
Okay.
Love.
Now, the systemic effects, though, are profound. So when I had toxic mold, and this dentist taught me how to do it, I went home and I bought the gear and I started doing it. And the first day I did this, I had 1 minute of mental clarity where I felt like myself. And I was like, oh my God, like the curtains parted. I could see the sun. And the second day I had 2 minutes. And I just kept doing it every night. And over the course of a year, my chronic fatigue syndrome went away. Now, that's not the only thing I did. I've done lots of other things. You have to get rid of the metals. You need to bind the toxins. In your case, the staff is making a toxin that's pretty similar to a mold toxin. Staff makes lipopolysaccharides, which are fat-soluble toxins that cause systemic inflammation. Mold makes fat-soluble toxins that are not polysaccharides, but they're still fat-soluble. So for both of them, you need to be binding the toxins, which is usually activated charcoal, bentonite clay, and sometimes a medical substance called cholestyramine. Don't do all of these every day because especially cholestyramine will take out your vitamin DAKE. Do you know about vitamin DAKE? VitaminDake.com, D-A-K-E. It's a specific mix of vitamin D, real vitamin A, not plant-based vitamin A, which doesn't work. Vitamin K2, which is from animals because that's what works. It doesn't work when it's K1 from kale. And then a specific form of vitamin E, not the synthetic stuff.
You take this every day?
I do. I actually take 3 of them every day because I have poor vitamin D genetics.
Okay. I have poor vitamin A genetics.
Oh, cool. So then you need extra?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm taking kidney every day. I take a chunk of kidney.
That'll help, but if you take too many organs, your purine levels go up, and that's not good for you. So I'm a huge fan of 1 ounce of organs a day and not more.
It's like this much.
That's probably...
Frozen.
It's probably about 1 ounce.
Okay.
But it's not going to have enough vitamin A in it.
So I need to take the DAKE too.
Yeah, vitamindake.com.
Okay, did you write that down? Thank you. I'm going to have a lot of things to buy after this.
I'm happy to help. Let's see.
Do you think ozone therapy would help with acne?
It really does help with acne because it helps to fix the microbiome. You can also take that same ozone machine and make ozonated water. And then you drink the water, it helps with the upper parts of the GI tract.
So IV is not the only way?
It's not the only way.
Okay.
It's a very deep systemic way. I like IV ozone therapy, but if you're on a budget or you're on a time budget, it takes like 10 minutes, the whole process, and you put some ozone in your butt, walk around for a while, you're probably gonna have to visit the bathroom and everything's fine.
Okay, so maybe I need to figure that out.
Why don't you see how you feel after the IV and you'll go, oh, like my energy came back. Like you feel different. Your brain wakes up in a really beautiful way from ozone.
Okay.
So ozone is one of the technologies for treating mold. But let's talk about what mold really does, going back to the beginning of our conversation. We have the mold spores themselves floating around, the fragments of spores, immune dysregulation. Then we have the mold toxins, the mycotoxins themselves. Guess what else mold does when you live with it? It moves in and it lives inside your body. Aspergillosis is really common in the lungs, which is Aspergillus, a black mold. It's also exceptionally common in your sinuses. And when mold is present in your sinuses, it causes the strep and staph bacteria to become highly aggressive because mold makes antibiotics. Bacteria hate antibiotics. So now they're fighting. So they both militarize in your sinuses, which is right next to your brain. And the way they militarize is by making more of these lipopolysaccharide toxins that go into your brain and cause inflammation and make you tired. They also inflame your skin, but I think your skin's coming from the plants you're eating. So we have this going on, and no wonder you have brain fog. So sometimes you heal mold, and then you have to go into the sinuses, and there's a couple different nasal sprays that will get rid of the biofilms that are formed. But let's say you've bound all the mold toxins in your body, you've moved, you've thrown away all your moldy belongings that you couldn't clean, and you're eating food that's low in mold even, but if you still have symptoms, it's really common. It's because you're generating mold toxins in the body. And there's a guy, I'm going to think of his name in a second here. His name is Andrew Wakefield. And not the one that's famous for all the pandemic stuff. This guy has been practicing mold medicine for 40 years. And he runs a company called mymycolab.com. That's MYCO lab. He's got some aggressive protocols that work better than anything I've seen. What he'll tell you, and what I believe to be true now, but I don't have any business relationship other than that I paid him for a test and he explained some stuff. I know a lot about mold. He explained a couple of things I didn't know. Mold grows in your interstitial tissues. That means between the cells in your body. So he said, look, just go on an antifungal drug, but don't just take it for a week like you did. Take it for 6 months until you're done. And he said the average patient takes 6 and sometimes 9 months of taking Sporanox every single day. And I did this. And for people who've had mold, remember at the beginning, I said, if you walk into a moldy room, you feel like you're going to die. When I moved to Austin, I lived in a house that had 42 water leaks that I didn't know about. It was full of mold. I lived in it for 4 months. What do you think happened to my health?
Deteriorated.
Nothing.
Oh, because you're on Sporanox. Huh.
Because I'd been on Sporanox before that. It heals you.
So you're not anti-pharmaceutical drugs.
You would have to be stupid to be anti-pharmaceutical drugs.
Okay.
Like the difference between olive oil and a pharmaceutical drug, let's think about this. Someone picked a massive amount of olives, way more than you could ever pick, and they processed them via some industrial process of squeezing, right? And sometimes they do other stuff besides squeezing, right? And now you have this concentrated extract of things that has a biological effect you would never get from eating olives. So why do we not look at the downside and upside of olive oil? It has both. So does butter, so does beef, so does kale, right? There's good stuff in kale. It's just smaller than. So if you're saying, well, I don't look at anything pharmaceutical, that's the same as a vegan saying, I'll never eat a plant. Or a vegan saying, I'll never eat beef. Or a carnivore saying, I'll never eat a plant. Dude, look at each substance as the sum of its good stuff and its bad stuff. There are some drugs that are life-saving. There are some drugs that will get you out of chronic fatigue. There are some drugs that will kill mold in a way that no natural compound will do. And you could choose to suffer, or you could say, I'm going to use the most effective tool and I'm not going to be biased one way or the other. I'm just going to be aware of the risks. Sporanox, very, very slight risk of taxing the liver, which you can counter with glutathione if you're worried about it. Mm-hmm. Other than that, you can look at the side effects of it. You can look at the pro side of it. But what I like about my MycoLab is they give you a test that tells you, do you have mold? Do you have an immune response to mold or an immune response to mycotoxins, which then guides what they tell you to do.
Is staph a mycotoxin?
Staph is a bacteria.
Does Sporanox help something like staph?
No.
Okay. So that's specifically mold.
But ozone really helps with staph.
Okay,
Do you know where your staph is?
No. I mean, I found it in a stool test.
Okay, so it's probably some GI stuff, but well, actually, there's some forms of staph that aren't even that bad that can be in your gut. Do you know if it was a bad form or a good form?
I think it was a bad form.
So ozone in the butt.
Ozone in the butt.
And maybe some oregano oil.
Okay.
That would be really good.
Okay.
That'll probably solve that problem.
I have had quite the journey of inner healing, healing my skin, and really getting to the bottom of my health problems. And one of the main things I did was sub out all of our heavy chemical cleaners for Branch Basics. You probably heard me talk about it by now. Branch Basics are non-toxic, hypoallergenic, free of fragrance, hormone disruptors, and harmful preservatives. It's baby and pet safe, clean, and cost effective. I am obsessed with Branch Basics. We are living in a Branch Basics household. Every bathroom has Branch Basics hand soap. We use the detergent. We use the dishwasher tablets. Their premium starter kit will provide you with everything you need to replace all of your toxic cleaning products in your home. It's really a no-brainer. If you struggle with eczema, allergies, asthma, acne, I highly recommend you make the switch to Branch Basics. It is so important that we're using products that are safe for us and not inhaling chemicals all day long. I love the fact that I don't have to worry about the pets, me, my husband. We're always cooking and using our countertops, and I know I'm using a safe cleaning product that is non-hormone disrupting. Save 15% and get free shipping on your starter kit when you use code POW, P-O-W, at www.branchbasics.com. Again, that is code POW for 15% off plus free shipping when you purchase a starter kit. Also, you mentioned glutathione, which I have been injecting once a week. Can you just clarify? Everyone's obsessed with the liposomal glutathione. Mm-hmm. Does that actually work? Does it need to be injected? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let me walk you through the glutathione story.
Okay.
Back in the 90s, there was a doctor named Tim Guilford who launched the first liposomal glutathione on the market. I know him well because he's the guy, when I was going to him, who said, Dave, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you don't heal like all of my patients are supposed to heal. I'm going to get an HIV test for you because I don't think you have HIV. You don't have any of the risk factors, but your immune system just won't function right. And when, of course, that came back negative, he ran a mold allergy test and it showed I was allergic to 8 of the top 10 toxic molds. And that was actually the spark that led me to understand mold. He also did glutathione IVs for me all the time. And then he said, hey, I got tired of doing IVs. I made this liposomal form. And I made this because your body digests glutathione. It comes into the stomach, your enzymes break it apart, you cannot get anything out of it. But liposomes are little balls of fat, and you put the glutathione inside it, and then it sticks to the wall of the gut, and it soaks in through the wall, and it escorts the glutathione in. This is a technique stolen from pharmaceuticals, by the way. They invented liposomal delivery systems, and then Tim and guys like him used it for glutathione. So that he's why I'm aware of glutathione. I was very early on that train, and I actually made the first dry liposomes for glutathione when I was running Bulletproof before they let me go years ago. So what's interesting there is if it's not liposomal, it's not going to work. There's a new form called, I think, S-acetyl, if I'm remembering right, that allegedly works, but I haven't tested it.
Okay.
That would be for oral. The most effective glutathione, besides injecting it, you want to guess what it is?
Up the butt.
Yes.
Why is it all up the butt?
It's just, I saw it on TikTok. It's got to be true. It's because they call the colon the third lung. And during certain kinds of surgery, they'll put oxygen in it. And it just absorbs very, very well there.
Okay.
So there are some compounds, even melatonin. In fact, there's a company who makes a melatonin and glutathione suppository. And like it just absorbs better.
Okay.
Strangely, and this is important for listeners, your skin will let you absorb things way better than swallowing them a lot of the time. There's another company that makes a nano-sized glutathione spray that absorbs almost instantly and raises your intracellular levels. Now, this should scare you because remember earlier I said mycotoxins can absorb through the skin? So can the endocrine disrupting chemicals in your Axe body spray or in that expensive lotion that says fragrances on the label. Literally, if it says artificial fragrances, you never use it again. If it says parabens, you never use it again because that's why your testosterone is low. That's why your hormones are dysregulated. I used to use, when I was younger and I was first diagnosed with low testosterone, my doctor prescribed a testosterone cream. This is just like a little squirt, like a teaspoon of the stuff. Right. And it absorbs best through the perineum, but that's like weirdly greasy. So it also absorbs in the armpit. That's the same amount of deodorant you would put on. And it absorbs into the body enough to raise my testosterone levels from like 160 up to 900. That's how powerful the skin is. So if it won't be something that's safe for me, I'm going to say that again. If it's not something that's safe for me to swallow, I am not putting on my skin. So I'm really selective that way because the skin absorbs as well as the gut.
And I hope the women are listening right now because we talk a lot about fertility on the show. And you've written a book on fertility. Yeah. So, and we use a lot of products. We have a lot of makeup we use, the deodorant, the body lotion.
Wow, I went through that in the fertility book. And like, look, the hair dye you're using probably isn't good. So there's like about a 3 to 6 month window before you get pregnant where you can set your body up for massive success. And when I wrote that book, if you were 30, you were going, I hope I don't get pregnant or get someone pregnant, right? Because it was a risk. My friends who are 30 today, they're saying, I hope I can get pregnant. And they're freezing their eggs. Like we've had a massive shift in fertility. People worry about there being too many people on the planet. Look around. The number of babies we're having is way lower than the replacement rate. Mm-hmm. So if we don't do the longevity thing, that's my main focus at Upgrade Labs. If we don't do longevity now, we'll have empty cities 25 years from now. We'll just have a bunch of old people who can't get around and can't remember their names. And I'm not going to be one of those. I don't want anyone to be one of those. So that means if you want to have kids, you want to prepare ahead of time.
Give us your top tips for fertility in that 3-month window.
Well, in that 3-month window, let me provide another resource too. So betterbabybook.com. I wrote this book in 2011. It's how I restored fertility with my former wife, who's a medical doctor. And Ann Shippey, MD, who's local here in Austin, just launched her preconception program that is very well constructed. She's one of my favorite alternative med functional doctors who does mold and does environmental toxins and fertility.
What was her name?
AnnShippeyMD.com.
Okay.
ANN. And what you'll find is, whether it's her recommendations or the ones from the Better Baby book, reducing endocrine disruptors, reducing toxins, getting rid of fragrances, getting rid of like air freshener plugins, anything like your laundry stuff, your dish soap. If it has a fragrance that you can smell, it is directly hacking your endocrine system. And it's not okay. Your hair care products, you can have nice hair from natural products. You just have to find the ones that work for you. So you go through and you eliminate those. And what Ann does, and what I recommend if you can afford it, is doing some basic lab testing. Do you have enough minerals? You could go on things like Vitamin Dake and Minerals 101 from that same website to make sure you just have adequate basic minerals, but getting lab tests is good. She goes deeper on her lab tests. You should get a thyroid test. Because this is for the man and the woman, by the way, both. If you have low thyroid, your energy thermostat is low. And that means it's harder to have the energy it takes to have healthy eggs and healthy sperm to have a baby. And you should get a hormone test. So once those are lined up, are you getting enough protein? And are you getting enough, for the woman especially, fish oil in the form of DHA? People don't know this, but the reason that men are attracted to women with thighs and hips and a butt is because women store DHA in their fatty tissues in those areas. This is an omega-3 oil that baby brains need to grow, right? And this is also why first children are usually higher IQ than second children, because the mother donates all of her mineral reserves and all of her DHA reserves to the baby to ensure the next generation survives. It's also why women used to eat their placenta, which is good for you, but sounds gross to me. You can get it in capsules. But if you do this stuff, like taking enough supplements before pregnancy and the right ones during pregnancy, and then after, you're much less likely to get postpartum depression, and you're more likely to have a healthier baby without immune issues, and you're unlikely to have pregnancy complications. My kids, one was born at 39 and one at 42, in a woman who was diagnosed as being infertile because of PCOS 6 years before we had the kids. There was no IVF and no pharmaceuticals.
Wow.
You can do this.
Wow. So I talk a lot about fertility on the show because my husband and I have, we want to have a baby. And we have been on fertility protocols for
IVF?
Not IVF. No, we haven't done that. Just like holistic.
Oh, good.
But we kind of are checking all those boxes.
Oh, you should totally talk to Anne. Like, she's here in town.
I know. I'm thinking I'm going to go contact her.
I can introduce you if you want.
Because I'd really like to avoid, the other ways.
IVF is really challenging on the woman's body.
Yeah.
It's also challenging on relationships. I mean, all of my friends who've been through it, they just talk about these horrible mood swings. And it's not like you choose to have a mood swing. It's just like your reality changes, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you find that that's the only path, then do it. Usually there's another path. You just have to know where the blockages are. My former wife had been vegan. She way overtrained and had no body fat and almost no thyroid hormone. So,
okay.
And then she had PCOS as a result of oxalates because, drum roll, oxalates also are raised by toxic mold and by candida. So if you're eating oxalates and you've had mold, you have oxalate burden, and it takes sometimes several years of low oxalate diet and having more lemon juice to slowly eliminate oxalates because they build up over time.
Yeah.
And that can also affect fertility directly because you can get oxalates in the reproductive tract, and then it makes it harder for it to work in men and women.
Wow. Okay. I could literally ask you a million questions, but I should probably wrap it up. Are you wearing an Oura ring?
I am.
Do you like it?
Kinda.
Kinda?
I like it because I don't have to wear a watch, and I don't like watches.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
And I also don't have to charge it very often. I was an advisor to Oura when they first got going. And it's the most convenient form factor.
Yeah.
I have some questions about the accuracy of the data. And there's two companies that have given me pause for this. One is called Sleep Space. This is a sleep doctor who's been on my show who actually wrote a new algorithm that's better than this and has an app for that. But the one I'm most excited about now will be at the biohacking conference. And it's a company called Earable, like ear. It's a headband that you wear that is an exact replica of a hospital sleep study. This is out of Oxford University, $10 million of funding. Like, this is really solid tech. I will tell you that my hospital grade data doesn't look very much like my Oura Ring data.
Really?
But I love my Oura Ring because my Oura Ring tells me a bunch of stuff, including heart rate variability, that's really useful, and it's effortless. And I don't wear my headband every night, but I wear my Oura every night. So I look at my Oura as like a health partner that gives me good data. And I know that the total amount of deep and REM sleep that I get from Oura might not be as accurate as I want, but I know that if it went up or down,
yes,
then I'm going in the right direction. So
totally.
Oura is great, but it's not as accurate as, say, an Earable, where you really know what's going on. So what I like to do is have the Earable and then correlate the two and understand, how do I feel when I had 30 minutes of REM, that is what the EEG on my head from Earable says, versus 90 minutes from my ring. So you can fool the ring, but you can't fool the brain sensors.
I would be curious to try the headband because I have a ridiculously high HRV. But it does
nice.
I can see it go up and down when I drink alcohol or when I cold plunge, but it's generally over 200 every night.
Wow.
I know.
So
it's my biggest flex.
It's a flex. It's a good flex. There are different ways of calculating heart rate variability. There's slightly different equations. And so the company called HeartMath, I think, has the most accurate things. They don't do sleep monitoring. And I've worked with them since 2008. And you might want to get their heart rate variability sensor that goes on your ear and then learn how to train your heart rate variability and see if it matches. If it does, awesome. Otherwise, there may be an equation based on like the low heart rate. You probably have low heart rate. There's some corner cases where it might read higher than it should. You could probably also ask Oura, like why the algorithm is showing that. There might be a reason.
Or maybe doesn't answer me.
Oh, well, yeah, they do have some customer service stuff.
They're so exclusive.
They'll also be at the biohacking conference, I think.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure they'll be there. And it's like, would I rather wear an aura or a headband all the time? I want because I'm getting data right now. So it's the lowest annoyance form factor there's ever been. It's a miracle of engineering.
It's stylish.
Right? So I wear that. And sometimes I wear my Irritable because I want really hardcore data. Okay. And the combination for me has been amazing. You mentioned earlier that you had borderline personality disorder.
Yeah.
Part of that disorder, as well as a lot of other ones, is, including bipolar, it's circadian disruption. And there's a reason I make True Dark, which is the glasses I'm wearing now.
That was my next question.
We have glasses we actually filed a patent on that we're about to release a study that shows that 15 minutes of wearing them, it causes the brain to go into the same state as advanced meditation. It's like noise canceling headphones for your eyes. And it's called True Dark. It's truedark.com. It's one of my smaller companies. It doesn't change my life if you do or don't get some. I just like to talk about cool stuff. And these are glasses that are red. There's other companies that make red glasses, but no one does this.
Yeah.
Because if you wear these in the evening, they take out all 4 colors of light that disrupt sleep and a couple other variables. And you just wear them. I don't get jet lag anywhere on the planet. You wear them at night and you just chill out and you get much higher quality sleep. So for people with any of the various brain dysfunctions, and certainly Asperger's, ADHD, all that kind of stuff, just calming the brain down with appropriate light at night before you go to bed, in studies, just blocking the light that comes around your curtains, 69% less chance of depression in a study of 800 people in Japan. So darkness matters, and you can get glasses that mimic darkness even though you can still see, and that's what True Dark is all about. That's why it's called True Dark.
Do you wear them when you record because of the lights in here?
Yeah. These glasses, these are the ones we designed for daytime. They block only the toxic blue light. Because it turns out if you wear blue blockers during the day, they'll mess you up. Blue wakes you up, right? Blue is necessary for your body to know that it's morning and the middle of the day. But we never get exposed to blue light below 490 nanometers. So what are these doing? They're blocking the bad blue and allowing the good blue in. And then at night, blue blockers don't work very well because there's 3 other colors that also affect your sleep. That's why True Dark has 2 different types. There's day glasses for studio lighting and all this. And people go, but they'll think I look dumb if I wear yellow glasses. Cool. I've been training to be a rock star. I've been doing it for 10 years.
They look really cool. It looks like you know something we don't, which is also valid because you do.
You know, I would like to see a world where we just fix our LED lights. Wouldn't that be nice?
That'd be so nice.
We can make lights that are good for you.
You know, the worst is the airport.
Oh my God.
I'll wear them at the airport because I just feel bombarded.
If you want to find me at an airport, I'm the guy with the baseball hat, the yellow or the darker True Dark glasses, noise canceling headphones, right? Oh, and I'm wearing an EMF blocking shirt and compression pants and a compression shirt. And when I land, I feel exactly like I did when I took off.
Yeah.
But it takes work to be healthy when you fly, and airports are gross.
Disgusting. Yeah. Truly disgusting. Dave, I think we need to do a part 2. We both live in Austin, so I might have to drag you back here because I want to ask about ayahuasca.
Oh, we got to do a whole thing on consciousness, 40 years of Zen, ayahuasca, mushrooms. Okay.
We'll do it again.
It's a deal.
Where can everyone find you and your podcast and Danger Coffee?
All right. Go to dangercoffee.com to get coffee that is free of mold and full of trace minerals and electrolytes. It tastes like the most amazing coffee you've ever had because it is, but it's got benefits. It's called Danger because who knows what you might do? Something good. DaveAsprey.com has all my stuff. My podcast is The Human Upgrade, and upgradelabs.com has information about the new Upgrade Labs opening in Austin. There's 28 opening across the US and Canada. It's a franchise, so you can open one yourself. If you're interested in being a biohacking entrepreneur, I want to help you.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Dave. This was incredible. Thanks for joining us on the Pursuit of Wellness podcast. To support this show, please rate and review and share with your loved ones. If you want to be reminded of new episodes, click the subscribe button on your preferred podcast or video player. You can sign up for my newsletter to receive my favorites at marilewellen.com. It will be linked in the show notes. This is a Wellness Out Loud production produced by Drake Peterson, Fiona Attix, and Kelly Kyle. This show is edited by Mike Fry, and our video is recorded by Luis Vargas. You can also watch the full video of each episode on our YouTube channel at Mari Fitness. Love you, Pow Girls and Pow Boys. See you next time. The content of this show is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for individual medical and mental health advice and does not constitute a provider-patient relationship. As always, talk to your doctor or health team.